Hey everyone, welcome back to some more Hardspace Shipbreaker. I did a little bit of playtime off camera, but I also then started a new profile because I wanted to do the whole open shift mode because I don't really like being on the clock. So, they've apparently done a heck of a lot of work since I last played, and they've made all the ships a lot more varied, and it's hopefully not going to crash this time. So let's see what they've got. So this is the open shift mode, and I learned this neat trick. You can pull yourself with the grapple and then stick your hands out. Ow. Of course I did it wrong. The point is to stick your hands out and not hit against the top of the ship. But you know, so my general methodology is to take everything off the front of the ship and off the outside. Basically everything I can reach without going inside the ship. And I'm going to move that in a second, but it's going to be easier to pull off if I take out this first. So you just cut both the cut points, and then poof! Again. And now instead of having to take it off the front, this bar just refuses to move. This bar just slides right off the side, and poof. Ooh. Spin! So I've got, oh my god, I've got a lot of work orders. That should be fine. But basically you take everything off the outside that you can reach, and then you head inside. So like all the cage armor, all the nose plating. I would like, if you can, you remove the nacelles, but if you're not playing on an easy ship, then the nacelles have to be detached from the inside, but you can just yoink the antennas, and you don't throw them in the furnace, you throw them in the barge. I remember that, don't worry, I'm not an idiot, I just wasn't given clear instructions. And then you do the same thing for the other side. Now the good thing about open shift mode is that you're not under any time pressure, and you're still under like a resource pressure, like the whole thruster fuel thing, and you can choose to enable oxygen, but I have chosen to disable it because I don't really like it. Fuel gives you a lot more time to move around, and that's completely optional, and oh my god. There's no side panels. That's interesting. I thought these had side panels. Apparently. Oh, this is like the industrial variant, I think. Ooh, data drive. Yoink. Okay, so first, let's flush the fuel. I think it's actually good that this one doesn't have any side panels, because before, like in a medium and easy versions of this ship, you can take the nose cone off and access the internal workings that way, but in the hard one, the fuel line actually prevents you from doing that. So it's good that it doesn't have side panels, so you don't have to risk a cut. And where's the reactor, actually? Oh my god, it's here? What the heck? I guess that makes it really easy to take off, but I gotta vent the umber lines first. Actually, I don't even think I need to. Either way... I think it would be best to just take this panel off. Right. Depressurizing is a thing you have to. Oh my god, no, the Hab! I'm sorry, Hab! Right. Depressurizing. That's a thing you gotta do. That's kind of important. I'm losing oxygen. There's a hole in my suit. God damn it! I messed everything up! Oh, God. Oh, God, jeez. Oh, man. Oh, that sucks. Okay, take two. Let's, I can't, there's no more hardships on the catalog, so I guess I gotta go for a medium one, which has a simpler layout, and, oh my god, I'm such an idiot. How did I forget to depressurize? That's like step one when you enter the interior, is depressurize. There, that's how you catch yourself properly. Okay, do the exterior again. Now, one nitpick I do have to make is that 2 is equip Stinger, and 2 is also, if you already have the Stinger equipped, 2 toggles the split saw mode. And it feels really annoying to me, honestly, because I rarely use the split saw. And it makes a difference, but the nitpick I have is that, why not just use 3? Why do I have to toggle the split saw? Why not just have 3 as the split saw mode? Because 4 is your light. Like, if 3 was the light, I'd understand, like, you've already got the keybind, but 4 is toggle light, and 3 doesn't do jack. So why not just have the split saw on 3 and the stinger on 2? Because I basically never use the split saw ever, on these mackerels at least, because you don't need to. Pretty much everything you do can be done with just the stinger. Okay, cycle the airlock, and this time let's find an atmospheric regulator and depressurize. Okay. Now I wanna vent the thrusters. I don't know what the method is for telling if you have the utility key or not, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you gotta find the key, but sometimes you just have it. And that's not a thing I should have to guess. Okay. Bump into it. You can actually push the stuff yourself. And it's much safer than using the force push. Okay, let's pull the terminal off. And then the panel goes into the processor. And then what I can do, the fuel is vented, and there's no coolant system in this one, so I can just tether the reactor to the barge and forget about it. Bye-bye, reactor. And those things are worth a lot. Those are like some of the most expensive things in the entire ship. Like that alone is worth like 500,000. And once you get to the bigger ship, I say ship because there's gonna be more, obviously, but at the moment there's only one other ship other than the mackerel, so I say ship instead of ships. But the class 2 reactor and the bigger ship is worth 3 million. Like the class 2 reactor alone is worth almost as much as the entirety of this mackerel, which is quite frankly weird but awesome. Okay, pull the barrel off and send it. Pull the crate off and send it. And then this goes into the processor. And that's pretty much the method. You just pull all the floor and ceiling panels off one by one. It doesn't appear that this forklift is not mounted properly. Or at least it's not mounted. Maybe it's not meant to be mounted because, you know, it's a forklift. Why do you need forklifts in space stations anyway? I mean, I get that this gravity gun would only work in a low gravity environment because, you know, it's using the whole principles of spaceland. God damn, this forklift's heavy. Are you, like, connected to something? Can I shove you? There we go. It's just heavy. But, like, come on, there's gotta be a better way than just a forklift. Right? I mean, I know it's kind of a weird thing to assume, but I'd assume that a society as advanced as this would have something better than a forklift. I mean, it's not even a big forklift, it's tiny. I mean, it's like being transported on this relatively small shuttle, but look at that. Look at this thing. Does this say forklift to you? I mean, it is kind of futuristic, but I don't know. Send it to the barge. To the barge with you! Alright. So that's the floor. Oh, and I should send the multi-tool to the barge too before I forget. Yoink. And then you take off the ceiling. A cool way to get a good angle is you push it upwards and then you kind of drag it like this. Because when you drag something, it also imparts momentum onto you. So you drag the panel like that, and not only does it slow down the force from your push, it pulls you up to its level so you get a good angle to throw it in the processor. It's actually a trick I learned myself. It's pretty sweet. Of course, it's prone to going wrong pretty easily. Like so. I didn't let it go for long enough. Ah, yeah, the cargo hatch. I forget what the etiquette for the cargo hatch is. Valuable object processed. Credits awarded. But it's pretty light. I think the thing is you put it in the processor. I think that's worth more than throwing the door of the barge. Ah. Oh my god, that was an objective and I failed it. Ah, I should have put it in the barge. Okay, lesson learned. Put it in the barge. Oh hey, another multi-tool. Yoink. And now, typically, a good idea is to take off the nose. Like so. Now it should drift free. Yeah, you can see it drifting free. You pushing into something is actually like the second most powerful force of movement. So let's just push this well clear of the rest of the ship. Because this is our next target, the nose cone. Gotta do everything with the nose cone. And typically, if there were walls here, which there aren't, but you'd be able to slip in the side of the ship that way. But it doesn't look like there are any more walls. Looks like on this model, at least the industrial transport model, there's no walls in the interior. Which, you know, makes sense. You cut costs by making it look worse and exposing the stuff, because only professionals are going to be working on these because they're industrial, and, you know, it's cool, those clever little details. And, geez, this is moving a lot slower than I remember it. I guess that's enough clearance. Oh, the power cell's up here. It used to be like a fixed layout, always, the coolant would always be up here. And with these larger side panels, it's better to tether them. And they just pull away like that. And I want to pull off the light, because I'm going to yoink the power cell. And the power cell is going to chain to nearby electronics, and I want to keep my distance. Here we go. 1 of 3? There are 3 power cells on this ship? Okay, that's new. I'm used to there only ever being 1. Oh, hey, the other 2 are over here. Look at that. So it's basically same deal. Tether away. Pull out the light. Now, is the power cell going to chain to the other power cell? Because that might be devastating if that happens. Doesn't appear to. Or at least not fatally. Alright, that's 3 power cells. And now this thing is lighter, it should be easier for me to push. Because I do want to get a little bit more distance for the next step. Okay. Yoink. The door controls.
Warning. Fuel levels are low.
Oh, yeah. I guess I better go and restock then. And then I take the mechanical console from the inside. And then I want to yank up these computers. Like so. And you see the doors jiggling now? That actually didn't used to happen. I think it's they remeshed this cockpit. So I think it's a problem with that. But what you want to do is you want to take off these aluminum strips. And the strips combined with the computer terminals freeze the door. and then you send the door into the processor. I know it says furnace, but that's just the panel of the surrounding door. It's much more valuable to just send the whole thing into the processor rather than actually putting it into the furnace. And then you've got this big hole here, and it's easy to just yoink all of this stuff and pull it out and throw it into the barge if it decides to cooperate. Which, you know, it's always like a... Is it drifting closer to the rest of the ship? God damn it, get away, move. That should do the trick. So then you basically just want to strip the cockpit of virtually everything. Physics? You drunk, bro? That shouldn't have happened. That's an annoying physics bug that really should be patched as soon as possible. And then once you've pulled everything of value out, you actually want to cut this free, this panel of glass, because it's the only thing in the cockpit still that doesn't go into the processor. And it's also worth a surprisingly large amount. And this is probably the only place on the macro where I actually use the split saw. There. Then it poofs out and... Ah, God, I made that same mistake again and I tethered it by accident. It's actually pretty light. It's only, you can see it's only 89 kilograms, and that's really light compared to everything else. And that does not go into the processor. No, 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 not me, not me, not me, not me, not me, not me. Ah, well, if I didn't mess it up, then it would have been worth a lot, but I messed it up because I'm an idiot. And then the entire shell of the cockpit goes into the processor. The glass should have gone in the furnace. I messed it up. And then you move on to the sides, and you cut the nacelles free. Once you cut them, they kind of gotta yank them out a little. Not too much. You don't need to do it too much. And then you just send them to the barge. And they drift. They take a while because they're heavy, but they drift down to the barge. And each one's worth a not insignificant amount. And hey, look, wait, here's the utility key. I used that, but I had it too? It's here and I used it? I'm confused about this whole utility key thing, honestly. I don't know how it works. I think maybe it's like... Now, like, the only reasonable explanation for now is that it's like the whole repair kits thing, where you take it, you have one, and then you use it on a ship. Like, it's consumable and it stays in your inventory. And I guess I already picked one up earlier and didn't use it, because you used to never need to use these unless you're on hard. But now it's like they changed it, I guess. The whole point of the utility key is to vent the umber lines, and the umber is like the reactor fuel. I could have sworn there were more nacelles on this, but I guess I'm wrong. So next, you want to take out these points right here and send the side panels into the processor. This is probably the biggest bulk of the ship right here is just these panels. And they seem a lot lighter now. They used to be like almost impossible to move. But they are easy to move without a tether now. Like, they even float further, which is welcome because I used to have to use like tons of tethers to actually move these things. Now, if I remember correctly, they've changed it so that you don't need to yank the fuel container free to get this last one out. It was actually like... Is the fuel container spinning? Oh, it just wasn't mounted at all. Huh. That's odd. I guess when you vent it, it goes free. And this one's heavy because it's got this extra bulk on the outside for no particular reason. But it used to be that you had to yank up the fuel container in a tight environment to actually pull the back panel free because the fuel container was mounted to the bottom. And now you don't have to do that. And yeah, this one's drifted too, so my guess is when you vent the fuel lines, it detaches, which is cool. It minimizes the amount of death and destruction that comes from physics glitches with those, because it used to be like sometimes like people suspect it has to do with like changing the rotational axis of the ship or something. But people used to pull those up and they'd like glitch out like you saw the computer do earlier. And the only difference is that fuel barrels are highly explosive and they'd blow up a part of the ship. And if you did the fuel barrels before you did the reactor, then it would basically just destroy absolutely everything. And there's nothing you could do about it because there's no predicting when it happens. You had to like nurse the fuel barrel. And what the heck? You're going places, man. Here, let me just pull you out of there right now. You also want to pull these consoles out because they go into the barge. And they're not worth a whole lot, but they just go into the barge instead of the processor or the furnace. And that makes it... They're really quick to pull out, and it's worth the time at least. And then, second to last step, you gotta pull these... You gotta pull these out, the back end. And you don't actually want to push the back end free, because what you're going to do is you're going to go to the back of the back end, and you got to cut these points to release the thruster cap. The thruster cap just pops right off, and it goes into the processor. But it also, and since I vented the fuel lines, this one's safe to pull out, the thruster, the class 1 thruster. And if I hadn't vented the fuel lines, this would start leaking. But, you know, it's common practice to vent the fuel lines. But I've heard in, like, some of the higher tier ships, they don't have the terminals to vent the fuel lines anymore. And now you've basically got this gutted back half of the ship, and everything here goes straight into the processor. You don't even need to cut it apart or anything. I mean, it would probably move faster if it was cut apart, but you don't need to actually do anything apart from take out the thruster, which is why you don't need to push it away. And then you've got this aluminum skeleton here. And, well, it's aluminum and titanium, but it's actually just significantly not worth the time to do anything with it, so you just tether it into the furnace. That's the entire mackerel done. Normally I wouldn't be able to do that in one shift, it would take me 2. But I can relax and actually think about what I'm doing now, and forget to vent the ship. So, let's try this hard one again. This one's packed. Ooh, a data drive. Ah, and this one's got a bunch of Nova fuel in it. That's good. Okay, so before I forget, depressurize.
Air pressure level decreasing.
Jeez. And this one's got walls on it. Oh dear. That's actually kind of bad. This one's got a shelf on it. A table. It's got a double stacked table and it goes in the furnace. Can I yank these free? Yeah, I can. Oh, geez, physics. Physics, bro. Physics. Physics, Lord, why you do this to me? Where'd the other table go? It appears to have left the general vicinity, which sucks. Physics bugs are probably the only thing holding this game back at the moment. Physics bugs and a bit of lack of variety, but they're working on that, you know. The physics bugs, really the prime enjoyment hindrance of this game. I should be able to yank the table off without making it go crazy. Throw it into the furnace. Oh, there's the other table. Now these fuel barrels are actually kind of volatile. I'm pretty sure you can actually push these with the push, but I'm afraid to do it when they're all bunched up like that. And also I'm afraid that they're gonna spaz out like the tables did. And now I got a lot of cargo to jettison out, jeez. But now that the floor is gone, I can just punch it all straight into the barge. Oof, 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 oof. Alright, that looks like all the cargo. So now I'm just gonna straight cut the... Actually, I should probably take off the ceiling first. Oh, here's the reactor. Now I should be able to just vent the umber lines with my previous utility key.
Processing valuable object. Credits awarded.
And then pull out the reactor and throw it into the barge. There we go. Oh, and I should probably mention that tool durability. Right, that's a door panel. Tool durability isn't implemented yet, at least not properly, which is why my cutter is at 0% and it's still functioning perfectly fine. That's the disadvantage with open shift mode. Your tools will break during the shift because it goes on for a lot longer. There we go. And it's better to throw it into the processor.
Processing valuable object.
Because the frame's worth like 40 credits, but the door's worth like 100 credits, or 100, like 1,000 credits or something. Okay, do the glass right this time. And that's 90 kilograms of glass, and that's definitely worth the admittedly small amount of time it takes to cut out. That looks like the fuel line no longer goes up to the nose, which is good. So they made the harder ships less annoying to cut out, because the point of the harder ships, there was no way to get into the back without cutting through something, and now there is, which is good. Because if you're forced to make a cut and lose a bunch of value, that's not really difficulty, it's just lowering the value. You might as well stick with medium ships. But now you can actually, the fuel line doesn't go all the way to the front now, so it definitely appears that it can be taken off easy. Or I completely lost my train of thought in the middle of that sentence. Whatever. Let's take out the nacelles. Is it still attached? Did I miss one of the cut points? Weird. Oh, the pipe. I forgot. You gotta sever the pipes for these. If they're connected via pipe, you gotta cut the pipe. Which is another reason you gotta flush the fuel lines, because if you don't, if you cut the pipe, then it blows up. Yeah, just like that. Also, I'm not sure why, but it's throwing me a hazard warning. I think it's like tracking something on the barge. I don't know why it shouldn't be. Like that. That's down there. I think that's the junction box. I think it's still tracking that as an electrical hazard, even though it's been secured and isn't an electrical hazard. But there's nothing I can do about that, so it's just going to be annoying on my screen. It's secure, right? Huh. I don't know. I'm not going to bother with it. It's not going to do anything to me. It's in the barge. It's safe. That's all I care about. Pull the power cell. Oh god, the whole ship got tilted from that. Guess it's light enough for that to affect it. Also, why... I need more thruster fuel. Why does this still have fuel in it? It shouldn't.
Fire damage.
Okay. I'm not sure why that happened. I wasn't cutting the pipe. But it didn't appear to actually damage the interior at all, which is fine. I mean, it damaged me. Took away almost a quarter of my health. But it didn't hurt the ship, so all's good. And now we've got our husk that goes right into the furnace. Whoosh.
Positive. Work order is complete.
Yeah. F to enter the habitation unit. It would have been cool if I'd remembered the keybind. So I got a bunch of stuff. Hey, let me just show you. The glass. It's worth 54,000 just for that little short time of cutting it through. Whereas both of the seats, which took as long, if not longer, are worth 30,000. So that was Hardspace Shipbreaker. I'm gonna call it for now. I've got 990 million more to pay off, but I'm not gonna do it here. I'll see y'all next week.